just the height of our ambitions, really. What's going on, everybody? We'd now like to take the time to field some questions. If anyone has anything, preferably not related to the book.
You had a question, sir. Go ahead.
Related to the book.
No, I would say.
What are the origins of MOONE BOY? Where did this all come from, this concept?
Well, we made a short film for a TV show, for a TV channel, and the premise was that I found it was supposed to be autobiographical tales from comedians' lives based around Christmas, and I found a photo when I was home one time where I was 8 years old and I was in Santa's grotto, surrounded by cousins and Santa Claus, and everybody seemed very happy except me. I seemed like I was very unhappy and I was crying, and I looked closer at the picture and I had a giant wet patch at the front of my trousers, and I had had a little accident, and it was kind of a little bit too old, as the boys can tell you, to be having such accidents. And so I asked my mum about it, and she told me that I was terrified of Santa Claus as a kid, that I just didn't like the idea of this weird man coming into the house and giving me terrible presents. And so I had a huge fear of him, so I tried to capture him with my friend. We set like traps, like badger traps.
Your friend Porrick?
My best friend Porrick at the time. So we did a short film about that, and it was really fun. And I brought Nick on board to write it with me, and we had a good time. And then they asked if we'd like to do a whole-blown show, and we didn't have any other ideas other than just minding our youths.
We said, let's just do a whole-blown show.
Yeah, just do a whole-blown show.
Yeah.
And it kind of, so that was really the start of it, that we thought it would be nice to do a show based on our childhoods in Ireland, which maybe haven't been on TV that much.
Do you know your airtime here in Los Angeles on KCET?
We are, that's right, we're on
Do you know
PBS.
your airtime?
8 p.m.?
9:48, 9:42 or something like that.
Oh, I asked for 9:47. That's disappointing. That's good. So why do they have the weird, you don't know? I believe it's because of the tides. I know that public television is based on the times of the tides. That's right, isn't it? I believe I'm right on that.
Hello.
How many series have you done?
We've done 3.
Yeah. Well,
So the third one just went out in the UK just very, very recently. So it'll be on Hulu very soon. So there's 6 more episodes coming to Hulu very soon.
And PBS.
And PBS, exactly. And
what
yeah.
about Australia?
And yeah, and the third season, you've had 2 as well, and in Australia the third season will go out in the next 2 months as well. Yeah. It'll be great. The second season is actually up for a BAFTA in Britain next week.
Yeah, we're going to London tomorrow.
Thank you, I appreciate that, because I was fishing for applause.
Yeah. Third series is fun though. Paul Rudd is in one of the episodes. He was great fun, and Sharon Horgan.
It's shown on our BBC.
That's right.
Australia,
Yeah.
Is it ABC 7?
No, it's just ABC 2, but unfortunately the ABC and the BBC, is it BBC or ITV in England?
Channel 4, no, what is it?
Sky.
Sky.
They've done some
They're all
weird
good
deals, so we may or may not get it.
I hear you.
So you travel from Australia to be here tonight.
Just to see you.
You know what? Worth every minute, isn't it?
Worth every penny.
We saw you in Last Event, that's why we came.
Oh, thank you very
We
much.
saw National Theatre live, yeah, as well.
It's very similar. The book is. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Did either of you have imaginary friends when you were kids?
Well, it's funny. Chris had an imaginary. What was it now? You had
A brick.
A brick.
I had no. We didn't. Neither of us had imaginary friends. I like to think I was the youngest of 5, and there wasn't room in the house for an imaginary friend. But for a long time I had an imaginary. Well, actually no. It was a real brick, like a house brick that I would talk to, just give him the events of the day, like a rundown and what's happened.
So the brick wasn't imaginary, it was just its dialogue was imaginary.
That's right, or its listening skills.
Right.
Like it never said anything,
Yeah.
and nor did I.
Its listening skills.
Yeah, its listening skills were imaginary. But no, we neither. So in many ways, the book and the show are pieces of therapy, I think, for both of us. That we had poor imaginations as children, and now we are using this for both mental and financial aid.
There you go. That's your IT crowd t-shirt, that's great.
Thank you.
I'm in that show, you know. That'd be weird if.
So did you do any research on people who have imaginary friends?
Yeah, we did a little bit actually. We kind of like it's very. What's been before we started writing it, I did a little bit, and what's been fascinating is you find out so much more once you're in it, and people kind of want to talk to you about their imaginary friends, and it's a very mixed bunch. There's a lot of messed up people out there. Like, and a lot, what I found that, I don't know whether, we haven't really talked about this, but a lot of people have imaginary friends where the imaginary friend are just real people. Like, oh, my imaginary friend is Barack Obama, or whatever. Like, they're just real, oh, yeah, Khloe Kardashian is my imaginary friend. Who I believe is doing an event here at Barnes & Noble. All the greats.
It's like it's a fun kind of thing to do because in the show, like obviously the imaginary friend thing is kind of all about loneliness in a way, you know. Like so we, you know, he obviously needs this and it's something lacking in his life, and like in the show we would have him like give a high five to Sean, but then we'd see it from another angle, and he just high five in the air, you know, on his own. And there's something funny about that, but there's also something a little tragic about that as well. You know, it's just this kid on his own talking to himself, high-fiving nobody. So, I mean, there's a little bit of pathos in there that I've always really liked, you know?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it feels like, you know, the incredibly popular kid who's in the middle of at the center of his social group doesn't have an imaginary friend, but nobody wants to read a story about that kid anyway.
Do you guys have specific pieces of your personality that you put in Martin?
In Martin?
I think Martin is mostly based on Nick. Like,
I'm never sure if that's a compliment or an insult, really.
You know, like his how he's pathetic.
Martin is like what I love about Martin is just eternally optimistic. You know what I mean? He's always like, you know, it's like you know, everything's going to be uphill from here as he walks downhill. You know, it's that kind of character. You know, that he's just he always thinks everything's going to turn out great, but it never really does.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier on. What I kind of like about the show and the book is that compared to a lot of stuff in particularly on American television or in American books, where kids are very precocious, and you feel at the end of an episode of a sitcom in the US that parents have all learned something from their kid, that we don't go there. Like, our kid is the most stupid person in the show, and deliberately, because I've never met a smart kid. Like, I've 9 nieces and nephews, and each is dumber than the last, and I love it. Like, I kind of appreciate that. It's a character which is about where it's optimism above intellect.
But I think it also says something about the parents, because like the parents would never consider learning something from their children.
No,
right?
No, they barely want to talk to their children, which I think is more true of a family than the other nonsense you see out there.
Well, one thing, I think you guys do touch up a little bit about imaginary characters with real life people. When you used Gershwin in the last season,
Yeah.
season 3.
Oh, you've seen season 3
Yeah.
already? Yeah, nice.
It's amazing. But I also had, what was your
That would have been illegal.
What was your inspiration for turning the Altar Boys into rock stars, essentially?
Well, Chris and I were both Altar Boys. So we really, that was one thing from the get-go that we really wanted to do an episode about Altar Boys. And we felt that we were like rock stars. So it just
No,
seemed-
I felt like I remember at the time thinking that the other ultra boys, because when you join any group and you're the youngest, it's like regardless of what the other kids are really like, you think that they're so cool. And I remember having that thought, thinking, oh my god, these kids are so cool, I'm never going to be as cool as that. And then later looking back and going, oh wow, I thought those ultra boys were really cool. And then you came up with the idea of like calling it like Godfellas and going down the mafia.
It was like a racket, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I remember my buddy was an ultra boy, and so we'd be in class, you know, and this is in primary school when I was 10 or whatever, and then he would say, "Oh, miss, I've got to go and serve mass now." And so he would just leave school and just go down to the church and save mass, and he would come back with like a fiver.
Yeah.
It was just like the best job ever. You know, you're leaving school and making money. So I was like, can you get me in?
When you
He's
get
like,
paid when you're 8, like that's, you've got something going on.
So I said, like, you know, can you get me in? And he's like, oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? You'll have to we'll try it out and see if you can earn your stripes. You know what I mean? But it was a racket. You know, that basically, yeah, you could get out of school and earn a bit of money, but you know, they kept it tight. Yeah.
Martin is really charming. Your actor, your young boy. How did you find him? Or did you talk about him?
We raised him.
A small laboratory in Texas.
Cost us a fortune.
Yeah. Worth every cent.
Just fed him on peas and
You'll be ready. You'll be ready for harvest. No, we you know what? When we were looking for an actor, like I had a couple of things that I really wanted to make sure, and that was that it was somebody close to where I'm from and somebody that had never been on screen before, which is very difficult if you're from a very rural place, and television companies obviously want people with a tiny bit of experience and stuff. But we went with the guile of it and saw maybe 200 different kids. And it wasn't until we'd seen like the 100 kids and they were all terrible that we realized that the show doesn't work until we find a really brilliant kind of naturally talented guy. And then he walked in and he was so charming, and he was shy and kind of, but very naturally, he had great timing, which was surprising. And we've, in the course of the series, never had to explain a joke to him. And it's funny, with the book, like one of the reasons that we wrote the book was that we thought it would be a really fun idea to write a book for him, like for the main character in the show and for that actor. And because I don't know that many 12-year-olds, in the early days, I sent him the first few chapters that we were working on, like just interested to see what his opinion was, and his notes were brutal. Like, in a way, like I'm his boss, and I was expecting really just kind of soft notes. But he was like, you know, chapter 3 is baggy. I don't even know what you're going for in chapter 4. There's some ideas in there, but you need to really be harder on yourself. And so we worked on that. But that was so we were very, very lucky to find that kid. He's gonna do great.
yeah. And as well, it was kind of also a pairing as well with the kid who plays Porrick, you know. So we got Porrick and we put them. They did like a half-hour improv, which was just gold. Well, bits of gold. And yeah, it was fun. They did great. They're good kids. But now they're like, man, it's weird.
Yeah.
So their voices have broken. The last series was all happening, and they were like, oh, how's it going, Nick? How are you? Yeah.
You're still writing the books, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you going to be writing more books?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are writing the second book at the moment,
Great.
actually.
Right now.
Incredibly quickly. No, we're writing the second book at the moment, and it's nice actually. It's kind of nice to be talking about this book when we're writing the second one, and so we go back to our lonely deaths at night. Actually, let me talk about the way that we write the books, just because it's, I guess, relevant. Where we write them with the hand that we don't write with. No, we write them. We write them in the same way that we write the show, where we come together at the start and sit in a room for a few days and work out what the entirety of the story is and break it down to its beats or its chapters or its scenes. And then we kind of separate and we don't really write together at all. And so Nick will write 7 pages of a script or a chapter of the book, and I'll write 7 pages or a chapter, and then we'll swap and he'll edit my stuff and vice versa until eventually we finish it. And so
Chris will be on set on a movie, writing his chapters. I'll be at home, putting up a shelf. Maybe watching an episode of The Walking Dead. Write a chapter.
You laugh, but it's all shelves. It's like a pyramid of shelves right there. Yeah, so that's kind of the way we do it. So we're at that point now where we're in the early days of that, you're so far behind in your own writing that you're not even reading the other person's work. So you're like, I hope that this is all makes sense.
I assume this is all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Between writing the script and then writing the book, what would you say is the most surprising difference for you?
Surprising difference. Well, I suppose like the one thing that's fun about the books is that we can go off on more tangents and stuff. It's not like when we write the show is 22 minutes long, right? And our initial scripts are like 34 minutes long, right? So we have to like strip it down. We've got to cut all these jokes we love, all that kind of thing. We've got to pare it right down to like 30 pages. And then we film that, and then in the editing room we cut more jokes and all the rest. But here it's like we have room to bring in jokes. Actually, even in this book, we do bring in a little bit of episode 1 in this book. And it was actually nice because there was a few jokes that didn't make it into the show. It's like, oh wow, we can actually put them into the book now. So that's really nice. I think it gives us more freedom. It gives us more room to meander a little bit. You know, I mean, I think the audience kind of goes with us a bit more than not so like 22 minutes, you know. But also, like the main thing with the book is that it allows us to get into the imaginary world a bit more as well. We never had a chance really in the show to do that because like there was something about it, like there was different episodes in the show where we wrote more of the imaginary friend stuff, and we just kind of felt we had to trim it back because there seemed to be this amount of the imaginary friend stuff that worked in the show, and if we did more than that, I don't know, but tonally it just didn't quite work anymore. So, but with the books, it felt that we could really explore that world because we always felt this is a really rich world. We never got to get into it as much as we'd like. You know?
There's something lovely about writing a scene in a book that you know you're not going to have to film. So it's like we can have talking trees and squirrels and magpies and whatever.
We never have to.
Okay, how the hell are we going to talk to the production department about that?
Yeah, we never have to have an argument with our producer.
We can actually be more imaginative of the book.
Yeah.
Kind of a way. Yes.
I've never seen the show, but it was really interesting because I'm a big fan of IT crowd.
Oh, thanks.
So, but I wanted to know, is it filmed live in front of an audience, or is it?
No, it's a single camera show, so it's kind of shot like a film, really. Like in the UK, because there's only maybe 6 episodes, it's shot like a film in that you shoot it all at once and shoot in one location. And yeah, so no, and it's kind of nice. I like doing audience shows, but it's it always feels like everybody's waiting for the punchline.
Yeah, it's a bit pantomime, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like with the show as well, it's like it doesn't matter if you haven't seen the show because the book actually starts before the show, so it's better to start with the books. We kind of think like that we.
But if you really want to watch the show, I know that there's a guy who has a legal big torrent.
But yeah, it's a great way in to start with the books. We kind of like to think that we kind of adapted the show from the books, but we just wrote it all backwards. So we're still writing the books from which the show was adapted from.
Do you have space for improvisation when you do the show?
A little bit, not as much as I'd like.
Like what I know in the IT crowd, you know, when Moss pretends he's being bullied, and then you guys do the scene. Like I don't know, I'm thinking, man, they must have laughed their heads off or improvised. You know, like.
We did a little bit, but you'd be surprised by how little time you have. Like I feel like on American shows, it's slightly different. There's just so much more money that it's like on British shows, if the scripts are fairly tight, you kind of get on with it. Otherwise, you're only going to have one take every time. If you want to do 3 or 4 setups per scene, anyway, without getting too much into it. But it's kind of, it's hard, unless it's kind of set out to be improvised. You have people like Richard Iwadi in the show, in the IT crowd, who just makes everything look like he's just made it up because he's just so talented.
He just remembered his lines.
Maybe that. I never managed that skill.
No, we do let them improv, but then we just cut it all out.
Sometimes, you know, you can be in the action of it, and all of a sudden somebody thinks about it and just twists it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Makes it
No, you're right. I mean, it's a lovely thing. Like, I obviously work that way a lot here, and it's kind of fun. Like, that's how Judd Apatow works, and it's really nice. But it is weirdly, it's a time restraint thing more than anything.
But Chris actually throws in a lot of lines on set.
Yeah, we write a lot. We kind of write a lot as we go, like between takes.
It's a growing entity as you move on.
Yeah, just for gags. Like, we'll kind of sit around and write jokes and things like that.
Yeah, have you guys felt any pressure to adapt it for American TV? Or is that something you're against?
That's something we're kind of talking about doing and maybe writing a bit of a script for at the moment, but in no massive hurry.
Do you guys have a writing,
Sorry, go on.
Do you guys have a writing team, or is it just you two?
Just us two writing at the moment.
This is the team.
We keep looking for members, but they don't like the conditions. The pay is great, but the conditions. A lot of
whipping.
A lot of whipping and oil.
When you were reading, you were making character voice. Do you guys do voiceover for shows like animation stuff like that?
Well, he does. I don't get paid for that generally. You did.
Well, we both did we did the audiobook.
The audiobook. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Available in audio bookstores.
Yeah.
In the cloud. I believe that's where. Yeah, it's quite fun though. It is quite fun doing all the voices and stuff, and we do that a lot as we write. We kind of it's quite an audio experience, I guess.
But have you done in an animation series or film stuff like that?
I've done a few bits and pieces. Yeah.
Chris did for Family Guy and Epic, and
bit of Family Guy, bit of that movie Epic and Monsters versus Aliens. Yeah, and then actually I do the voice on like a TV show that the animators do from our show and book.
You do the announcements of Barnes and Noble.
I do the announcements of Barnes and Noble. Right? It's pretty good.
Fantastic.
We have Josh Groban, and I believe on Thursday we have Kim Kardashian's tapes.
Very nice.
I see most of you are just here getting your seats for Kim Kardashian. You're just waiting 2 more days.
This gentleman has a question. Now, yeah, you do.
No,